It's Sunday, the 8th of September 2019. I'm going to give you a technical analysis breakdown of some UK and US stocks. Let's get straight into it. Hi guys, it's Annie, aka the Noctrader, your friendly neighborhood swing trader, back again with another video. Remember to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that alert button to get alerts on all my latest videos. I've got Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at the Noctrader on all social media platforms. And if you check the description section below, you'll see a link to my mailing list. If you join my mailing list, you get priority access to my free training course, and you also get weekly emails of my latest videos straight into your inbox. I've also got a Discord group. It's a chat room for like-minded traders and investors called Pip Talks. If you check the description section below, you see a link to that Discord group as well. It's free to join, and just join the community. Now, today I've got five UK stocks to cover, and I'm not sure how many US stocks. Well, I've got 5 UK stocks. Let's start with that. Before I get into that, last week had a little bit of a bad trade. I kind of didn't follow one of my own rules, and I held a ETF overnight. As you know, ETFs are quite volatile for intraday trades, but I was pretty confident that this was going to go up, and I was wrong. So let's just check that out first before I get into my UK stocks. So yeah, if you check my technical analysis videos that I did from last week, I was really confident about JNUG, but you know, the market has a way of humbling you. Yeah. So I was in a long position here, and then it sold off. Luckily, it closed me out, but I lost about 200 quid. But hopefully I'll recover that back this week. Hopefully, we'll see. But yeah, I was pretty confident that it was a wedge pattern was going to carry on going up after open market, but it sold off emphatically. So I think I've learned my lesson. Not learned my lesson, because this is just I don't think I did too much wrong. It's just that one thing I should have done was close my position out before the close of play, and then maybe re-entered it afterwards after the next day, rather than holding it through the night. So I kind of yeah, if I'm going to trade this ETF again, I'll probably just do intraday trades rather than holding it for prolonged periods, because you never know when it's going to change direction, especially with ETFs, as I said, because they're quite volatile stocks. Yeah, so Hargreaves and Lansdown. This is the first one on my list from UK stocks. If you check the daily chart, you see that it's been staying within this range for some time, and this major sell-off here was due to the whole between May and June was due to the whole Neil Woodford fiasco. I made a video on that as well, and how Neil Woodford, his funds were doing really badly, and he had to freeze people withdrawing from the funds. And Hargreaves Lansdown, they were one of his biggest endorsers, and they had one of their funds his funds that they endorsed. So when news came out about that, it really negatively affected Hargreaves Lansdown, because they're so tied in with Neil Woodford's brand. But it sold off, but it's been doing this like kind of triangle pattern, and I believe that it could potentially break out here. If it doesn't, maybe it'll ricochet back off the support line and break out again. So what I want to see is a breakout before I take a position. But it looks like it could be a breakout. The MACD, RSI are all kind of telling me the same thing as well, so I won't be surprised if at some point next week it breaks out of this and then carries on shooting up. What I'll do is I'll set alert on this line, and then we can see from there. Right now I wouldn't take any action, but I'd want to see it break out of the triangle pattern, but that I think it will do. Next one is Asos. Asos, I mentioned this last week again, but I'm just going back to it. It started making high highs, what I wanted it to do. It's kind of ricocheted off of this £21 support line, and I think it's going to start climbing. Its contemporaries like Boohoo have been doing really well. Asos hasn't really had the same kind of success that Boohoo has been having of recently, especially from a stock side. But I believe that rising tide lifts all boats or something like that. So the fact that Boohoo's doing well, I think it should, and it's in the same sector, it's really pretty much their direct competitors, should help uplift Asos. Yeah, so if you can see here, the MACD, where is it? Let me go to this one. The MACD on the day chart, it looks to be making high highs. So this is a good sign. It's kind of like making high highs, so it's creeping up. RSI doing the same thing. So I do believe that Asos could start climbing from where it is. If you go down to the 4-hour chart, it's yeah, it is making high highs. It's good. It's been ebbing and flowing, coming back down, coming up, coming back down, coming up, coming up. This is kind of what I wanted to see. I did want to see. I didn't expect it to just shoot up. Obviously, I did expect it to kind of ebb and flow, but just make higher lows. So each low was higher than the last one, and that's kind of what it's done here. So this is a good sign. I'd say the best way to do is to enter this would be to wait for it to dip, and then when you catch that bottom, you can take a long position and then maybe set a stop loss just below this line. That'll be a way to play it. Next one is Tesco. Tesco, I'm kind of kicking myself because I identified this last week, but I didn't think this was a great entry point. But apparently this was a perfect entry point. It's just been making high highs ever since. From this point to this point, 15 days, that's 22 pips. You could have made a decent penny off of that. Just seems to be making high highs, and this is, I attribute it to this line here. This line was of significance, as you can see, because I plotted it, and it had been touched once as a resistance, 3 times as a support. Maybe even 4 times if you could take that one into account. But maybe I just didn't have the confidence to pull the trigger. But sometimes it's better to be too cautious than to enter too early, as you can see from my ETF trade. But it's making high highs. I don't know if I want to enter now because it's been making some high. It spent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like 12 days or something climbing. So it might be due a retracement. I'd like to see it retrace. If it retraces, maybe it'll be a good. That'll be a good point to enter a long position because it looks like it's going to climb at least to the resistance line. So, but you don't want to catch it here because you might spend the next few days just trading a falling knife. Next one is PSA. I'm kind of annoyed about this one because this one I identified with one of the guys on our Discord. I identified this, but it was just a little bit too early. Identified it around here, but it had still a bit more climbing to do. As you can see, when it hits the resistance line, it lingers for a couple of days. It's done this before, where it's lingered for a couple of days at the resistance line before selling off. It started selling off now, and I believe there's still more to sell off. But we kind of missed that big move on Thursday. But I believe it's still going to find its way back down to about the support line, which is still another 600 pips. So there's still money to be made. But we're just a bit early off the mark with the selling off. And finally, for the UK stocks, we're looking at SPX. Now SPX is one I mentioned last week as well. I called that out last week, and looks good so far. On the daily chart, you can see that this line here is acting as a line of significance. It was a previous resistance twice and a support twice. 180-day simple moving average is acting as a support. Price has climbed up after double bottoming on this line, and if you go to the 4-hour chart, it's kind of doing what I wanted it to do, which is it broke out of the 15-day exponential moving average, retraced back down and treated it as a bed, and looks to keep climbing. Looks good so far. I can't really complain. I wanted it to break this kind of invisible kind of support resistance line, and it's done that. So I'd say this would be a great position to go to take a long position and then just ride it up. You don't know how high it's gonna go though. You just have to wait and see, but it looks like it's a good stock that can give a lot of return, even if it just goes back to its previous high. You're talking 1,000 pips, and you're risking maybe 600, 500. So that's 2 to 1. But I do see it climbing. Looks like a good stock to take a long position on. The only thing I'd be wary of a little bit is that the MACD looks like it's already started climbing. And then the RSI is kind of in middle territory, but if if you check on the weekly chart, yeah, it could potentially, I don't know. It looks good so far. That's all I can say. So I would still think you could take a long position in this. The good thing about this is that the position it is right now, if you took a long position, you could set a pretty tight stop loss. You could go long, and even if you did want to set the stop loss like here, which would be about 500 pips away, you could potentially set it just a little bit higher, because you really don't want it retracing back to the support line. If it retraces any much lower than like its previous low, then you know that it's probably going to start selling off. But yeah, I think this is a good long position. Now on the US front, actually before I go into the US front, actually now let's go straight to US stocks. On the US front, we have Hertz once again. Looked at Hertz last week, and we're looking at it again. Hertz looks like it's making its move upwards now. Yeah, it looks like it's gonna start climbing. Remember, I plotted this line. Let me configure it so you can see it a little bit better. I plotted this line here, and this line seems to be very significant. Previous resistance, previous support, and it's hit it again. It looks like it's going to start changing direction, and you want to see it climb. I can see Hertz climbing at least to this line here, this dotted line. It might even go further. So we're talking 156 pips here, and then you can kind of risk 100. The only problem is that you put in 138 pips at risk, but you don't know how high it's going to climb. So what I'd say is that you'd want to set a trailing stop loss from where the low is here of about 1120. So if you set your stop loss here and make it a trailing, and then just as price climbs, it will just climb up with it. That way, if you see a rapid retracement, you could lock in maybe a little bit of profit or even a small loss as price starts climbing. And we've got, what are the ones? Got Tesla as well. Tesla, I initially said that it would look like it's gonna make high highs. Right now, I'm not really. I'm kind of inconclusive with Tesla. I want to see it climb some more. On the 4-hour chart, yeah. So on the 4-hour chart, the 180-day simple moving average is still acting as like a resistance. So that doesn't really bode well with me. If I'd only say it was a long once it kind of breaks out of this 180-day simple moving average. Because it's kind of curving down, it's acting as a resistance, so that's kind of telling me that it could be selling off some more. I'm not really confident about Tesla long right now until it breaks out of this. So yeah, that's me, Any, aka the Noctrader. Once again, just a reminder, when I get to 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to release my training course to all my email subscribers first, and then to the rest of the public maybe a little bit later. So yeah, just remember to join my mailing list and to subscribe to the channel so we can get to 1,000 soon. So that's me, Any, aka the Noctrader, signing out.